You want to start by telling me a little bit about your organization and what you would like help with as far as wireframing?
Yeah. So we are a nonprofit that kind of oversees the collaboration of conservation-minded zoos, private landowners, breeding centers, to create viable and lasting populations of endangered species. And we help, with research and everything we do is, backed by research. And we have really amazing partners, and it's a fun organization to work for.
Very cool, very cool. So I understand you're in the process of a website
Yeah.
redesign.
So we have a website right now that we're not very happy with. It's on WordPress, and we just have a lot of difficulties with it. And so we've decided to move to Wix so that it's more user friendly. And if there are small edits that need to be done, someone like me who has no design experience can go in and make some simple changes. And I don't know if you know, but Wix came out with a new editor. It's Editor X.
Oh, okay. No, I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, and so it's not open to the public. We put an application, so we were one of the people selected to try it out. So it's really cool. I like it a lot. But yeah, we want to do it right. So doing the wireframes first and making sure it looks, the way we want it to look before we have developers help us. But yeah, and I've never done anything like this before. I'm learning, but I've been playing around with it this week. And I want to say thank you so much for providing it to us for free. That's amazing. Thank you. And I created my first wireframe, and it was
Oh,
really
fantastic.
fun. It was really
Good,
fun.
good. I was
Yeah.
just going to say, I hope that this ends up being a fun project for you. It doesn't turn you off of wireframing and web
No, not at all.
design.
Like I had a
Good,
great
good.
time. It was really fun to do. And I don't know all the tools yet, but I was able to do some stuff. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I'm really excited to get better at this and share it with other people.
Okay, great. Would you like to share with me what you have so far? All right, so I think I've got it up now. So I will share my screen and then we can look at what you have so together. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. So you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the page that you wanted to share and wanted to talk about.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to tell me a little bit about some of the other screens? I mean, some of this might be useful if you are looking at this kind of the structure of your site, or
Yeah.
were you trying to think about, the old structure versus the new structure and thinking about it kind of like at a high level? Because that can be very useful. That's a really
Yeah.
good starting point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's do that. I believe the first one, the first, or the one that was called C2S2 Wireframe Developer Version 2. I think that's the most updated. Yeah, that is. Yeah. So that's pretty much what we're looking at right now.
This is great. This is a really good starting point. Okay.
Great. Yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking about this and playing around with it. And there's still some, things that I'm gonna probably change a little bit. But yeah, so the first column is the navigation menu, or I
Mm-hmm.
guess the second column. And the third column, the drop down menu pages.
Mm-hmm.
And then under the third column, so any other pages, if it's linked out or a lightning box, something like that. And then components, I started, putting, obviously there's gonna be more, but that's kind of, basic, what's gonna be on the page. I just wanted to communicate that as clearly as possible with the developer.
Excellent. And so is this is the new framework that you want to use, or the old one?
This is the new one.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so how did you go through that process of taking what you had and then kind of reorganizing it? What was that based on?
Yeah, so I took the old site apart, wrote down exactly, what was on each page, and, was trying to think of it from, a person who has never been to the website before. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think our website currently is very user friendly, or doesn't, I think that, oh, this material would make so much more sense for it to be here. So I was just trying to think, how can I make this the most user-friendly? How does it make sense? I didn't want too many pages. If there's information that makes sense that can be on one page. I wanted to combine stuff. And then I really wanted a site where you can easily find all the pages. Because right now, you have to go, to a certain page to click on that button to get to a different page and that page you can't access anywhere else. And, I didn't want that. I wanted people, if they're looking for something, that it's easy to find. And then we wanted to just incorporate some new information as well. And so this is not my first, as you can see, I have like old, new wireframe, old site, a few tries, and got some feedback from colleagues, and we talked through it, and yeah.
Okay, great. That's a really smart place to start. So I'm glad that you've done that. I do have your your current website up, and so that's here. So you're saying one of the problems you think is that there's just the information is spread out into too many different places, so it's hard to find which.
Yeah, because we also actually have multiple web pages. Like this is our main page, but we have like an alliance, a source population alliance that has its own web page, and then we have another Red Wolf page. We just have too many, and I just want to make it easy for people and put everything on one page. And I want it to be, visually pleasing as well. Some of the pages were well done, and I like the way they are set up, and others not so much. And yeah, we're just really wanting to make it the best user experience for our supporters, our donors, people interested in what we do, people wanting to learn more.
Out of curiosity, can I just ask who are the primary users of the site?
Yeah, so mostly donors, and so what we want to do in the future is we want our members to be able to access it, and this is something that's going to be like a second phase where they're going to have a login option, because we also are managing like animal transfers, because we want to make sure the populations are genetically diverse. And so to make that easier for our members, we want to have a login option, but that's going to be a little bit further down the road, hopefully later this year. Yeah, we just want it to be inviting, so people who are curious about what we do want to go to our page and read about it.
And what are some of the things that you want people to do?
I would love for people to learn more, not only about what we do, but the importance of, saving species and just educating people about conservation efforts we do all over the world, and any misinformation. Just as an example, we work with the American red wolf, and there was a lot of misinformation spread about the wolf, that it's, dangerous animal and it destroys everything, just like all these things that are not true. And so we just came out with a film. It's called Resilience, Story of American Red Wolf. And yeah, so just educating people and getting them excited. Like that would be my primary goal, is inspiring people to want to learn more and get involved. And yeah.
And I assume you also want people to give you money.
That's always nice, yes. Help fund, our research, and just be able to, add more programs. Always like to add to our target species portfolio, and expand more. We already work with partners in Australia and South Africa and Canada, but we would like to expand even beyond that, have more international partners, and just have people be more aware of what we do.
What would you say would be a successful visit to your website? Is it somebody goes there and donates, or is it enough for them just to learn something and not donate? What are the, what is a successful visit to your website from your point of view, or a couple of scenarios?
Yeah, for sure. So, of course, as a nonprofit, we do rely on donations to continue our work and support our partners and members. But, I understand not everyone can always is in a position to donate or donate a lot. And so even if people, if they're unable to donate at the moment, even if they just went to the site and learned something new, that would be great. But again, of course, as a nonprofit, we do rely on donations.
Is there also, can they come visit you? What are some concrete other steps that you want them to take? Sign up for something, or visit you, or spread the word about something?
When, obviously during the pandemic, things are different, but we do have our address on there. People are welcome to come visit us in person. Once things open up again, you can email us. There's going to be, our email is going to be on there. If they have any questions, it can be, just lay person wondering, wanting more information on what we do. Or members, if they're interested, like, hey, I really like what you guys do. What does it take to become a member? What do I need to do? Can I talk with someone about that to see if it's an option for me or for my organization? And then we're also wanting to add to the new website an option for volunteers, because we do have some volunteers, but it's not, we don't really highlight that on our old website. And so to get people to want to volunteer, and we utilize people, different skills, whether it's you have some business skills, you have design skills, fundraising, whatever it is, or wanting to help with admin work, whatever, we utilize, whatever skill you have. I'm actually the person who manages the volunteers. And what else? We're starting this new thing where we're trying to engage more younger people interested in conservation. So we're working on educational tools targeted for different age groups. And let's see. Oh, and a subscription if they, if you want to be a part of our mailing list, with, what we're doing. So we want to have a subscription button on the site. But yeah, I would say those are the main things: volunteers, members, donors, and signing up for our mailing list. Okay,
great. Just wanted to kind of zoom out a little bit first. All right, yeah, so let's jump back to this sitemap. So are you pretty happy with this organization, this kind of reorganization of the pages?
For the most part, yes.
Okay.
Like I said, we're still tweaking it a little bit, but I would say that 90% of it, or the majority of it, is kind of where we want it. A few things that might change, like thank you donors. I think I'm going to add that to support us. That makes more sense to me than under a part, like small changes like that. But
right.
Yeah.
Okay, great. What would you like to focus on here? What do you think that I could be most helpful with? Is it the design of a particular pages, or something else?
Yeah, so just, I guess, since I've never done anything like this before and I'm still learning, any advice you have at all would be super helpful, whether it's the structure of the website or the page itself, breaks in between, because I know we're going to have, some pages will have a lot of information. An idea I had was kind of buttons at the top, so that, for example, Source Population Alliance has 10 species associated with that alliance. And if we have all the species on one page, it's going to be a long page, and we don't want them to have to scroll all the way down, find it. So a button everywhere. I don't know exactly how we're going to do that, but so that people can find what they're looking for. But if you have any any advice on what do you do if you have a lot of information for one page, what's the best user-friendly way to structure that?
Yeah, that's a common challenge is having a lot of information on one page and how to make it not so overwhelming.
Exactly. We don't want people to get there and be like, there's a lot of information, let me go to a different page.
Right. So this page that you designed, what type of page is this, and why did you focus on this one?
Yeah, so it's a species page. So we're structuring it by carnivores, herbivores, and then source population alliance, which does include herbivores, but it's its own alliance, so I'm keeping that separate, and I might change the wording. But I just wanted to start with one of the species because I already had, so my process has kind of been, I'm working on the content for the page, and so I do a little bit of that to kind of, get a vision of what I want the page to look like, and that has been helpful for me to do that first step. And so, since we focus on species, that's, my job is to work on species survival. So I was like, okay, that's going to be one of our main pages, one of the pages we really want people to navigate to. So, that's why I started with that one. And I had some content already for the, I didn't really add much of the content, but I knew what I wanted. So, and those are two of our, like the cheetah program is one of our first programs, and the wolf, like I said, we just came out with a video, so it's like one of our more successful programs, so I thought I would start with that.
So this is going to be one page for all of the carnivores?
Yes, right now it's just two. It's just the cheetah, red wolf, yeah.
Got it. And okay, and so both of them will be listed on here?
Correct. And I made like comment boxes. Oh, one question. I know that I saw something about being able to link out. Can you link out to other pages too, or just within the wireframe?
You mean like you can do both? So you can link to a website, a place on the web, or another page.
Okay, cool.
So I can take this button, for example, and put in a link, and this will list all of the existing web pages, but you can also say link to a web address.
Okay.
And if you click that, it'll allow you to put in a web page there.
And can I link to a specific, like for example, if I wanted to link the button that says American Red Wolf to a later part on this page, like the second half, should I do that, or is it just?
No, there's not a way to link to a different part of the same page.
Okay.
So yeah, what you can do is just add a note that says, this should link to or jump to that part of the page, which should be sufficient. Okay. So there's a couple of, I want to just share with you a couple of things that we've written, and I'll send you these links later too, but that might be useful for some of these sites.
I actually looked at the one when I was making the outline for the site.
Oh, okay, great. Good. This is an article called Content First Design, because you mentioned that you had already done some thinking about what's going to go on the page, and I think that's a great start because the design of the page should really be dictated by what's going to go on it. So this is an article that kind of talks about identifying some of the content and the structure first, and this could be a useful one to look at later. Another one, since you mentioned that you're going to be using Wix, is we have an article that's specifically about using these site builder applications like, Wix and Squarespace. And it talks about the different templates and different design blocks that they use. And so I think a good tip here, because you already know what system you're going to be working in, is to see what kind of controls and components they have, and then start to think about how you would use those on your site. So you're not stuck in this position where you have a site design and then you go to their site builder and you have all kinds of different widgets to work with.
Uh-huh.
Um, so, I mean, we can probably make some assumptions about what some of the standard things that they're going to have. They're probably going to have some kind of an image control or maybe a gallery thing and some, navigation widgets, and then images and maybe some kind of tiled squares like you have here. So we can try to kind of anticipate what what the site builder will have.
Well, I actually played around with Wix as well and Editor X to kind of, I mean, I don't know, like I'm also new to that tool as well. So it's not expert level, but I played around enough that I was like, oh, I know that I can do, some of this.
Okay, great.
So there has been, I put a lot of work into, doing as much as I can before starting with this. So that I had a good starting point and just knew what works and what doesn't.
Great. That was I think that will definitely help once you as you go down the line. So on this page, some of your concerns are how to make it kind of inviting and not seem overwhelming.
Yes, and I know the spacing is a little off. Like I know it's cramped on here. That was just me wanting to show like kind of what I want, but we're gonna give the designers, the developers, some freedom because they're the experts on design and that's not my expertise. So I do trust them and I'm gonna give them some leeway and ask them what do you think would be best. So it's definitely going to be us working together, but I just wanted to show kind of like generally what I want. I am very aware that it is cramped, and that is not how I would want the site to look.
Right, but yeah, at the design phase you just kind of want to get everything, or this early phase you just want to get everything
exactly
on there. Yeah, which makes sense. Well, one general piece of advice I have for these situations is to think in terms of templates. So you want to have, as much kind of consistency and repeatable design as possible.
Yes.
So so that's why this sitemap is going to be really good because you can think about, look for the anytime you have kind of pages that are grouped together or that belong to the same parent, they might have the same design, so you have birds, carnivores, and herbivores here, and they each have some animals in them. So I'm guessing that the birds page and the carnivores and herbivores page will all have this. They should all have the same template. So
they will be very similar, even the source population one, because it's also species page. There are going to be a few like slight differences, because our cheetah program has an extra program attached to it basically, so it's going to have an extra section, but no, absolutely, like everything else, like generally it's going to be all the species page are going to have a very similar format, because it also looks nicer if it's just generally the same format. And then all, like you were saying up top, like all the ones that are similar in what information it's providing are going to be the type of information it provides are going to be the same template. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, and this is really helpful here. I think you mentioned this earlier, that the source population one has, 10 or so species, where the carnivore only has 2 right now. But if you're thinking in terms of templates, you're going to want a template that can accommodate, a larger number. Whereas if you're just doing a one-off page that only had 2, you could even do side by side or something like that. But if there's going to be 10, you want it to be able to accommodate that. So
I didn't think about doing side by side, but yeah, I was thinking more of a template of not necessarily the page itself, but the section. For the sections that would make up one species, and that being the template for the remaining species. That's how I've been thinking about it.
That's considering this is your first wireframe, I think you're off to a very good start. You avoided a lot of the common first time mistakes.
Oh, cool. Yeah, thank you.
So shall we see if we can tackle this page?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to just duplicate this so that we can.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at